Trey Wade, what up, buddy?
What it do? What it do?
Yes, sir.
What's up, fellas? What's up?
What's
man?
up?
What's good, man?
Before we get too deep in this, I just have to say, you guys easily have like top 3 intro songs in all of podcasts. It's one of the only ones that I sit and listen to the entire intro. Usually, I like try to fast forward. I listen to every single time I listen to the whole thing. So you guys will see this a little bit breaking news because I haven't talked to anybody about this since the redesign. So you guys are going to see
we'll take breaking news.
Scotch, bourbon, and rye, yeah, we on that whiskey. Wanna discuss an array of topics, conversation simply. Gonna drop your whiskey bars with the sip hitting for. Could you pass it? You want more? Another glass, let it flow. Steady pour. Steady pour. Yeah, a steady pour. A steady pour of growing, a steady pour of sharing, a steady pour of knowing. Now pass that Glen Carry. So pull up a chair, grab a glass, and enjoy a melanin-infused perspective with a whiskey twist. Yeah, a steady pour.
Hey, ho, hey,
Every time.
ho.
Does not fail.
Welcome to another episode of a Steady Pour podcast. I'm your pour coach, Drew.
Cow.
Tony, what's up?
Darius, what's up?
And we back, fellas. We back
We back.
Back at it again.
with the dope
Back
episode.
at it again.
We also, we were talking about the Chosen program, but we got a chance to experience picking a barrel at the Black Bourbon Run. And that was
Hands down my favorite one.
Yeah.
That was fire.
that was
That was fire.
that
That
was
was
a-
40 experience. 40 people?
yeah.
40
Almost
people.
50.
44,
Yeah, 40
yes,
plus.
44 people
Wow.
participated.
That was dope.
I didn't know how you were going to do that, but that was dope.
It worked out well.
It worked out. It worked out better than I thought it would. Candidly, like that's a lot of whiskey to go through for.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
Right.
of work. And then with that big of a group, it's kind of challenging to make sure that everybody's like cohesive,
Yeah.
right? Because at the end of the day, like you don't want to walk out of that, pour out all that whiskey, and there not be a consensus. And so, I think the elimination round structure that I kind of came up with, I think it worked out really well. That was the only group that I did last year that I used that platform and that many people. I think the next largest group was like 12. So you guys,
Oh, wow.
almost
We
4
blew
times
that out the water. Yeah.
4 times. Man, for real, for real.
yeah. So, but it was definitely one of my most memorable experiences last year. BBR in general was one of my most
Yeah.
memorable experiences from 2023 for sure. And I can't wait to get back in October.
I was about to say, we
Yeah.
assume you coming back for the next one.
Shout out to Paul.
I might have some things up my sleeve.
Okay. The slide through.
I don't know if we'll do another barrel. It'll be up to Paul. Like if we do another barrel.
Uh-huh.
But I got some ideas, things that I want to make shake in the interim of our distillery being built. That's the other challenging part. When you go to Kentucky, like we don't have a home yet, to host people and like really say like MTV Cribs, open up the doors. So I still gotta have to like upfit or dress up somebody's space, but
Yeah.
working on some things that might make October pretty special.
Excited.
Let's not skip over that. You mentioned distillery being built.
Right. We've seen some of the plans. That's why.
Yeah, it's a beast.
Yeah. So
Coors is invested in it, man. They're buying all the dirt and making sure everything's lined up, P's and Q's. I will say, right, like due diligence when you're a 15-person company versus due diligence when you're a 15,000 person company is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right. And so like they're going through the P's and Q's and document to make sure everything looks copacetic. But yeah, it's 100% still in the plans, and it's just a matter of time when it's done. So like it's not gonna happen in the next year, not next 3 years, but it's definitely a part of the commitment that they made when they acquired us, both internally and then publicly. They went out, bought the additional land that we needed to secure to make sure that we meet the statutes. But it's happening, man. It's gonna look very, very similar to that initial rendering, but there's absolutely some modifications they have to make from just an operational and scalability
Right.
standpoint.
I'm sure.
Like
Of course.
It was super cool. Like you look at that rendering and there's no flat walls, right? Like there's no flat space. And so like
Right.
if you ever want to go bolt on it, it's going to look like, kind of Willy Wonka. And so they're figuring out ways to say, well, if and when we do need to expand, what does that look like at this same campus? So there's some small modifications been made to the design. And so once all that stuff is settled out, you can't design a building while you're building it, right? That's just not how that works. And so once that's all settled out, they'll get ground broke and it'll probably be a 3-4 year build out. So
Okay.
So like 2028, is what you're saying?
well, that's I mean, I always try to be really conservative. I mean, if the motivation is there, they'll get it done in 2 years, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
it's just the scale of the business, the demand right now. The market in general is kind of leveling out. Like people are, oh, it's a down market. I'm like, we're still selling way more whiskey than we sold in 2019. Like people are buying way more product than they ever bought up until 2020, 2021. It's like interest rates, right? Interest rates went from 3 to 7%. People are like, oh my gosh, worst interest rates ever. Like there used to be double digits interest rates.
Right.
We're not that bad yet.
Right.
It just depends. I think at the end of this, or not even the end of this year, like late Q3 will be super telling for us as a business. And then going into 2025 will be super telling. But I mean, literally, it's a matter of them. And I'm not intimately involved with like the schematics and design of the distillery, so I don't have a real time update. But it's something I know is a reoccurring conversation on all of our major calls with like the board and our designers and stuff like that. So,
So for our listeners, just so that they, I guess, can understand, the impact of having your own distillery, right? So right now, Blue Run is considered a non-distiller product, right? Which means you either source or contract distill your whiskey, which has led to actually many brands being able to come into the whiskey space because it reduces the barrier, like the entry point into the whiskey space, right? And so right now, you guys contract distill?
We do both. We source and contract distill. Yeah, we've contract distilled at Castle and Key, and we contract distill now 100% at Bar South Bourbon Company.
Okay.
But we've sourced some whiskey since inception. Obviously, we didn't contract distill 13-year whiskey.
Right.
Same thing for 6, 8, and 9-year whiskey and trifecta. So we do a little bit of both, and so that's all still oversaw by Jim Rutledge. So Jim, oversees all our production still in certain capacities, and then Shaylin oversees all of our blending. So yeah, we're a little bit of a hybrid. None of our whiskey yet is old enough to be in our bottles. So I would still say, yeah, none of the whiskey that we're going to take to consumers is going to be stuff that we distilled under our own DSB.
Now, usually when it comes to those non-distiller products, how much of a role does transparency play in terms of with how Blue Run does it? Like when you think about to your consumer, how much transparency is important to you guys?
It's super, not only just transparency, but like inclusion in the process. So like when you think about like if there's no NDA in place, like if you look at our high rye, like the mash bill's on the back of it, right? As long as we disclose literally everything that we can disclose without legal ramifications. And so I think it's super important for a variety of things. One, your consumers, the more the more educated a consumer is, the more likely that they're higher propensity to buy. So like if you just come out and say this is a 3-year whiskey, like you'll honestly get more people, which we have never put 3-year-old whiskey in a bottle. Let me just get that out of the way. And never will, right?
Nice.
Like our threshold is like 4 or 5 years. So we just won't do that. And that threshold is going up as we speak. But if you just put 3-year on the bottle, and even if you say like a great example is Jim Beam did not Claremont Steep. They did Hardin's Creek. That was a 2-year $90 bottle, right? People still bought it. Right?
Yeah.
Like people were still curious about it and enough to buy it, but it's because you educated them on it. If you had to just and people were still like, it's a really good 2-year whiskey. I just wouldn't pay $90 for it. You know what I mean? Like people didn't say, "Oh my gosh, it's terrible. I can't believe it's only 2 years old." Like nobody said that. They said it's a really good whiskey at the age that it is. I just wish it wasn't $90.
Right.
It's 100% fair. And so for us, we never want to put in place a barrier for somebody to buy, right? And I think if you start to like disclose information that guides people into understanding, like and helping justify their own purchase, I think it's worthwhile. So we definitely try and are improving, right? Like this year we get to disclose pretty much all of our mash bills and chosen, which last year was a challenge. We weren't able to do that in some of our whiskeys. We're able to disclose age on the vast majority, and even age state the vast majority of the whiskey. We've got the rye that Jim Rutledge distilled. So like we're working our way into being able to be even more transparent because we have less sourced whiskey that we had when we started, right? And so, and I think the reality is like the industry is like back in the day. And it's so funny to me. What nobody will ever say is like, oh man, MGP makes shitty whiskey. But when they hear,
Right.
hey, this brand went and bought whiskey from MGP and blended it in their own proprietary way or aged it or did whatever they did to put it in a bottle, they're like, oh, that's just MGP. I'm like,
They messed it up.
Exactly.
MGP didn't do that.
like, how did you just? I have been on record and will continue to go on record in saying George Dickel, their distillate is way better when you buy it in another bottle, right? Like, like I don't know what they do when they sell those barrels, but they run them through this Willy Wonka chamber, and it tastes so much better in everybody else's better bottle than like Dickel 15. Like, I don't know what they're doing down there in Tennessee. Well,
Wow.
So like, I prefer source Dickel than Dickel from Dickel, right? Like,
Wow. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
drink things like Corker and Uncle Nearest and a bunch of other brands, like you name them. I'll drink that all day long. I drink a Dickel. So I'm not ashamed to say that. So sometimes sourcing is a good thing. Because like the artist, the artist that does the final product and the blending is a big deal.
Right. So
Good truth.
now that you're investing into your own distillery, does that mean that you could potentially contract distill for others?
Yeah, for better for worse, that's not my responsibility. I wouldn't be surprised, like very, very selectively. I'd say the challenge with that is that there's so much capacity in. So most people that transparently, most people that contract distill use that as a way to offset investment.
Right.
Right.
They don't usually start as a $16 billion company, right? Like Molson Coors is a $16 billion with a B dollar company. That the risk associated with contract distilling and not having full control and kind of that closed door policy may not outweigh the recuperation of their investment. Like, so I don't have the honest answer is I genuinely don't know, but my assumptions would be that the juice weight may not be worth the squeeze for us as a brand. Now that we have we've got multiple brands in our portfolio that we've got to support out of that one facility.
Right.
But if we have the capacity, I wouldn't be surprised if we did. Right.
Right.
Who's like recouping their money faster, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't have the capacity.
Right. I just hear about a lot of distilleries that are just popping up and they're intending to contract distill. Like that's their business model to start a lot of other brands. Like what's that, Whiskey House or something?
Oh yeah, and I mean, and that's like again the reason why somebody like us probably won it, right? Like Whiskey House doesn't have a brand. That's not a brand starting a distillery. That is somebody creating a new MGP, right? Where MGP had no brand. Like that's a very different entry point. Whiskey House, to my knowledge, also isn't the place where you're like going to do a tour and you're like having an experience or whatever happens. It's more so of, hey, if you're trying to get in the game, here's a way to invest in whiskey without having to make that capital investment of building a distillery, buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of barrels, etc.
Right.
Got you.
So as part of your job at Coors, I guess, with this new distillery, what type of experiences do you think? I know it's down the road, but what type of experiences would you like to see in your own distillery?
So the way that I describe my wish list to the team is I want people to walk into a space that feels like a sensory mall, and what I mean, and not like a sensory hall. And what I mean by that is like I want cultural themes of music and culinary, and I want our space to be bigger than whiskey, right? Like I want aesthetics and fabrics and art, all that to be integrated throughout the facility, so that it doesn't feel like a dressed up production facility, right? Like I love Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Yeah.
It's one of the prettiest distilleries in Kentucky. But it's a dressed up production facility, right? Like it is, it's a glass warehouse, right? And I love those guys. I envy them. They have one of the most beautiful distilleries. My hope is that we have a much more touchable, consumer centric, fully immersive experience, right? Like the amphitheater, working with somebody like a Bose or a Sony to say like this, there needs to be a full sensory experience, like speakers in the ground, stuff like that. When you walk in, partnerships with different people, whether it's culinary or like there's great museums in Kentucky. Like I want our experience to be one of those ones where like you walk in and you're like, whiskey was really cool there, but the whole facility was great. Like whiskey, yes, that's our business, and we don't want to ignore that, but we've got to be bigger than that. You know what I mean? Like when you go to a Nike factory, what you don't walk away thinking is like, fuck, I just looked at a bunch of shoes. Like that's not what you do, right? Like you go and you're like, I can feel the culture of what they're trying to. It's athletics and lifestyle and all the other stuff. Like it's bigger than the shoe brand that started that business. It's bigger than the sweatshirts that people wear. It's you walk in and you can see the pieces of history that they've touched or either attached themselves to. In that experience. And so that's definitely more so what I've envisioned and hope to see come to life. But again, we got to build the building before any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Gotta have a house first.
Yes.
I like the way you talk about that. You were kind of giving me Pharrell Kanye vibes when you were talking about how you see it being bigger than just whiskey.
That's
right. In
Of course, you brought Kanye into it.
Of course. Visionary.
Mad props to Kanye, but I'd rather be Pharrell.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yes,
Good
you're
answer.
right.
Good answer.
That's why I threw him in there. I threw Pharrell.
He'd rather have the big hat, not the big shoes.
But yeah, that sounds pretty dope.
We call a steady pour, and I don't know who does your soundtrack, but I want like when somebody walks through the door, I want like one sound. It can't be like a ding dong. It can't be a chime. Like, you walk through the door, like it's just gotta be like a dope like 30
hip hop.
like 3 second something.
Yeah.
All right.
He know what's about to be.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just gotta be a noise that like you're where you're supposed to be.
You know
That's
what
right.
Right. You have arrived.
You know what the experience about to be.
Yeah. Welcome to exactly where you were trying to get.
Right.
I can dig that.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
See, he's invoking all the senses as a part of this experience.
Oh, that's it.
You got to.
Yeah.
Again, and here's why, because like, you know, whiskey is one of those things that is a common denominator, a lot like, you know, finances and music or math, excuse me, not finances, math and music, like those things, they transcend language, they transcend cultures. Like you get those everywhere you go. Whiskey, consumer goods are like that. And like, I want people to be like, man, I came all the way from Taiwan and I went to Georgetown, Kentucky because of Blue Run. Because it's not just like, and like Buffalo Trace kind of has that, but again, Buffalo Trace has it for a different reason. They got it because it's like, you know, it's a historic landmark. We're never going to be, that's not what we are, right?
Yeah.
We want to be a landmark nonetheless, but like a futuristic landmark. We were like, this showcases where we're headed.
Right.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Not where we came from.
Correct. I mean, like you couldn't have you can't have a butterfly without the caterpillars, all right?
Ooh, that's a bar.
Whiskey
legacy
bar.
that
That's a
got,
bar.
like, the caterpillars, like they got it figured out. But they crawled and now we're flying. So we want to have like I hope that we get to have a space that is truly encapsulating of like what could be all possibilities, all aspirational, all evolving. I also don't like I've kind of pitched like, guys, we need to have a very modular space so that, you know, you guys are in Kentucky, what, 2, 3 times, 4 times a year sometimes, right? If you come twice a year, I don't want you to have the same experience, right? Like I want our culinary center to be a culinary. I even call it a culinary center. I don't want a kitchen. I want a culinary center where it's like a food court, and just like you go to, but I want to have guest chefs, right? Like they pop in.
Nice.
It's like so somebody has a residency at Blue Run for a month, right? And they cover the menu, whatever happens. So you might come this week and get, you know, Ethiopian food, and the next time you come, you might get Irish, right? You might get Thai, you might get Kentucky classics or Thai, whatever have you, right? And so I think it'd be super cool to have, you know, your staple core menus. Everybody gets a cheeseburger, stuff like that. But then have a guest chef where we have a seasonal menu or a rotating menu. And it might not be for the same period of time, but like stuff like that. Also, just ideas around like production studios. Imagine like recording a steady pour. Hey, we're live at Blue Run Studios.
Yeah,
I've already got that imagery in my head.
Those are a lot of the little small touches that I would like for us to be able to bring to the world of whiskey that they just don't exist yet.
That's what's up. So would you say then right now you are in your caterpillar season, and then
we're in the cocoon. We're cooking.
right, and
They
then
still cooking.
when you open up,
let them cook.
when you actually open up your own home, that is when you'll be busting out of that cocoon to your butterfly season.
I think, you know, caterpillar was crawling, getting us off the ground. Acquisition, we were going into that phase of having to wrap up. get all our stuff figured out, metamorphosize. Yeah, I said that right the first time.
You got that. You got that.
And then as we get our bases built, our wings grown, all that stuff inside of this kind of closed off corporate space. Where again, we're not here advertising. Oh yeah, we're having label problems, or we're doing this, we're doing that, right? Like we're getting all that stuff figured out. When we launch, or when you see this next phase of Blue Run Core Spirits go, I think that's truly going to be our phase where we start to flap our wings.
Oh my
Nice.
So I'm super excited.
I am excited for you.
We all are.
Like you couldn't write a better story
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm scared to even try. Like it's
Don't.
we're so blessed. The timing, the people, the timing, the talent, the whiskey, all just kind of. That was why I joined Blue Run. Right, there was a ton of brands that I could have honestly like applied to a job. There's a few folks that listened to me, and I was like, guys, like. I love your brand, but I would never work there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, all right, this is one of those edible moments. It's like, yeah, you're gorgeous, but I would never marry you. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do long term with you, woman.
He's I'm trying to hit and quit it. Damn.
Right. You can't even cook.
You can't cook.
You know how to look up your credit score. Why would I do that?
Right.
Oh no.
That's just silly talk.
Hit him with the next, please. Next.
So you look great over there.
Right.
Not over here.
With the next man.
That's so funny.
Jesus.
I knew that would get a laugh.
That is brutal.
Blue Run was like, yes, if I was to do this full time, 100%, that's the brand I would want to do it with. And it is a commitment. There is a lot of give and take. There's a lot of me, learning the business and them giving me the grace to do so, and then vice versa, them being open-minded to, the rest of the organization being open-minded to somebody who doesn't come from the whiskey space professionally, but like candidly has invested more than anyone else in our business outside of course, right? In whiskey, right? So I spent a lot of my hard time. I've chose to spend a lot of my hard-earned time, money, and energy in like engulfing myself in all things spirits, not just whiskey, and bringing that back to whoever will listen in a position of value. So
That's awesome.
It looks like it's working out for you, brother.
Yeah.
And we are happy for you.
Man. I'm very grateful. Very grateful. Like I've had way worse gigs than this. Let's just say that I've been in a lot way worse positions. I travel way too much right now, and eventually that'll slow down as I get to build out a team. Hopefully one day. But right now, I love it, man. I as much as I do get exhausted, being able to do stuff like this, podcast with you guys, showing up and coming to an event, and people are just still over the moon about what we're doing in the space. Like it breaks up the mundaneness of like, all right, cool. Like here's another spreadsheet, here's another email. Like it allows me to get out and really appreciate what we are doing in the world of whiskey, right? And then, I don't do this. I don't do this for the whiskey. I do it for the people, right? Like that's
Definitely
100% honestly. Like if it wasn't for the people that like our whiskey and love our brand and love our whiskey, like I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was also evident at the Blue Run Gala with all the folks there.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
I cried like a baby that night. I'm not even gonna front. No hard man syndrome here. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe if you guys knew how hard I had to fight to like pull that off. Because it got put on, and honestly got put on pause, like a little inside solid. It got put on pause for a while.
Really?
Acquisition happened. We were like, okay, we just got acquired. We have a 90-day like no major events thing, right? The daily was like 87 days. I was like, guys, press releases have come out. Like we
gotta do
money's
this.
already been invested. Like we gotta do this. And they said, obviously they said yes, but it was like it was a battle because we got vendors saying, hey, like what are we doing? Honestly, like October, the first week of October is when I got the green light. Actually, less than 60 days is when I had the idea. All of that was idea. Like I had it written down. I had conversations lined up, but like vendors didn't get selected, paid until like late October. So 30 days and we pulled that off.
I'm not gonna lie. Part of me kind of regrets not going.
You should. And
it was really funny. It was my birthday weekend, too.
You wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't.
Oh man, it would have been lit.
You know,
It'd have been lit.
it's still like it's one of those moments I look back and I'm like, I can't believe we pulled this off. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely can't. Like it was a great event. The Muhammad Ali Center is one of the most iconic places in downtown Louisville that doesn't get enough shine. Like that building is so. There's so much history in that building attached to the world, not just like because of his legacy.
Yeah.
So to be able to do it there, do it the way that we did it in very short order, to be able to like negotiate and say, hey guys, like give me some stuff out of the vault so people have a reason to be here.
Yeah.
Like the 13-year, like our very first bottling that we were going to keep for our tasting room. I was like, guys, give me some of that, and we're able to like launch that. We launched it at the same price it was. We didn't jack it up to $4.99. It was the same price it was originally sold at. And so like that felt really good to me. Like, you know, and some of it's like, oh my gosh, you're here, you bought a ticket, you traveled, like, but the reality is like there's no other opportunity to get that stuff. Like genuinely not. That was the first time all of our founders had been together outside of like acquisition conversations.
Wow.
So like it was also super important to me, like for them to see the fruits of their labor, because they were very like in the throes of like negotiating to get, you know, the acquisition taken care of. And so they didn't get the chance to get out and see consumers and like see people appreciate the brand and all that other stuff. And then, you know, me, I had to bring some culture, man. So I had Bree performing it by then.
Yeah.
So I met Bree when I was in college. I was a editor in chief of a magazine at the time. And we used to do an award show called the Substantial Awards. And so she was at UNC Charlotte. I was at East Carolina University. And she was doing her thing. And I contacted her at that time, it might have been Facebook or YouTube, and booked her. And then fast forward, this is like almost 15 years ago.
Wow.
And then be able to bring her back, and like now she opened up for like Sierra in New York. Like she's world renowned. Like she's crushing it now. Back in the day, she was just getting started.
Nice.
And so it was a full circle moment for me to be able to like see her perform at this stage in her career, and people were they were loving it.
We were vibing. Our table was
Yeah.
I appreciate the chocolate table to my left, because like it was a very eclectic crowd.
Yeah.
Very, very eclectic.
I could imagine.
Yes, you can imagine.
I can only imagine. Us two can only imagine.
Yeah, y'all should have been
We
there.
were not
I'm just
there. Hey,
saying.
man, life
Such a good
is
time, and I was
life
like,
is
all right,
happening.
and I was a little nervous, right? Like, because you know, very conservative. There's some very conservative folks.
Yeah, of course.
You know, non-conservative folks, and like, I was like, I got a hip hop violinist, and I think she did like, when was it Back That Ass came up on? I was like, oh no.
What's gonna be the vibe?
I trust you.
Yeah.
I said, I trust you, and she did that, and I was like,
killed it.
oh my god, she killed it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Nice.
thank God this went the way it went, because this could have been way worse.
You would have had walkouts and stuff.
Correct.
Nice.
No, it was dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, so we got to do whiskey bars with Mike. You know what I mean? Got to chill with him a bit and
Keep going.
Mike's the man.
meeting
Mike,
Shay,
keep
meeting
going.
everybody.
You guys shoot Mike a love letter, man. He lost his father-in-law last week, so
Oh,
just shoot him
that's
a little
right.
love.
Sorry
I
to
did see
hear
that.
that.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Definitely sorry to
Yeah,
hear that, man.
Mike is he's the reason I met Blue Run, honestly. Like he was a tipping scale. He's the first person that ever reached back out to me. Like he responded to my DM on Instagram, and you know, out of the people that I get to work with, he's the one that like I owe so much to, in terms of like giving me the opportunity, trusting me with the opportunity. Like I come to Mike with some of the most ridiculous ideas. I mean, honestly, I'll call Mike in mid-conversation. Something will hit me, and I'll say it like I've been thinking about it for 6 months. And he'll have enough tact to be like, Trey, that sounds great. Sleep on it.
Germinate a little bit.
Like, yeah, I like that a lot. You know, put a little bit more thought into it. And he knows that by giving me that freedom, that grace to like go flush it. He knows I'll do my due diligence of flushing something out, no matter how excited I'm about it, to make sure that it's beneficial to the business. And so he gives me that grace. He gives me that autonomy. I've been able to do some things with whiskey that, you know, I don't know how else anybody, myself included, could ever have the opportunity to do it. Right? Like to go from the Masters to the Derby in 1 month, Masters, California, Alaska, the Derby, all in less than 30 days.
Wow.
Because of whiskey. So like,
Yeah.
very blessed, and you know, very, very blessed.
Yeah. No, shout outs to Mike for real. I mean, he was one of the first people we met in the industry that came on and talked to us. We didn't know anybody from the company. We didn't, we hadn't really talked to any other I mean, definitely no CEOs. Like people
Right.
as high up as he was, just tag, like you said, shooting our shot on the DMs and just say, hey, would you come on and talk to us? He was like, yep, when?
Sure.
I was like,
Let's do this.
incredible,
That was easy.
I mean, yeah.
People ask what makes Blue Run different, and I said people like Mike Montgomery,
Yeah.
people like Jim Rutledge, people like Shaylin Gammon, Devin McKinney. Like the people made our brand different. There's a lot of people that got into whiskey, and as dynamic as they were, like they just didn't, they were somewhat of a one-trick pony, and they weren't as engaged. Mike, literally, you can text Mike, you can DM him, you can call him, and he makes you feel like the most important person you talk to all day.
Yep.
Every time you talk to him, and I think I don't know how he does it. It's exhausting. I used to joke and say, Mike, you are the most overpaid secretary in the world, because he would just block off his calendar and get like a list of orders that have been placed. And you couldn't talk to him for like an hour because he'd be handwriting notes to people that purchase. Like it's on his calendar, like do not disturb.
Yeah.
He's like,
I got
down,
one. Yep.
writing notes to people. I have literally.
Yeah, he got a whole drawer full. Look at that. Mike notes.
Every note that Mike's ever written to me.
Wow.
That's dope.
That's crazy.
I probably have like 40 of them. So birthdays, anniversaries.
Wow.
Dope. That's dope.
He's a good dude for sure. Yeah.
Christmas. I get Christmas cards from Mike. Like the guy's just he knows the value of relationships.
Yeah,
He definitely does.
Yep.
That's huge.
Shout out to Mike.
Oh,
Shout out to
sir.
Yeah.
Cheers, Mike.
Yes. That Blue Run gala was quite the experience. I guess we expect nothing less from the head of consumer experience.
Right.
And speaking of experiences, what experiences, I guess, would you recommend whiskey enthusiasts or different, whether it's whiskey events or festivals, that you say like they gotta maybe try at least once or maybe all the time?
So disclaimer, these guys gave me a heads up on some of the questions they asked. Every one of them I was comfortable with. I was kind of nervous about this one because I have an unpopular opinion in the world of whiskey.
We love unpopular opinions.
I am not a big fan of Whiskey Fest. I don't like the speed date.
Interesting.
I overwhelmingly prefer more intimate, like single brand or couple brand curated experiences, because I feel like it just, again, I compare it to speed dating, right? Like, what do I really take away? Very surface level, shallow experience with somebody who may not even work for the brand directly, right? Is what I look at whiskey businesses. Now, if you're, if you're a podcaster and you've got your own brand, you're trying to go out there and network and all sorts of stuff. Those are great opportunities to touch a lot of people at one time. Mm-hmm. But from an enthusiast standpoint, it's expensive to get somewhere, and my opinion is I'd rather go somewhere with 3 brands where I walk away with 3 relationships than a place where I go and like meaningful, met the person behind the brand, know the story intimately, and not just like schloss fest going from booth to booth.
Yeah.
So I prefer, like, if you find especially locally, right? Like, now a lot of brands are doing better of like, hey, we're doing a pop-up dinner at this restaurant, here's, we're doing a flight of our course cues. Our person, like our ambassador or distiller, they're going to be there. Invest in those, right? Support local business. Brands are doing road shows now that COVID's not happening. You can find stuff that pops up in your local area, and I'm a big proponent of like supporting local and invest in those. Even if like I will travel to, especially if it's reasonable distance. Like I'll go to a dinner in DC, right? Which easy to get there from Charlotte. I'll go to a dinner down in Raleigh or Florida. Like those are places, Charleston, those are places that are very easy to get for me. Low cost flight versus spending 4 days where I got to get a hotel and all this other stuff anywhere for like a 3 or 4 day whiskey fest, where like by the 3rd day I'm like, one, I've seen everybody, I'm stuck here because the flight's not till tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I would suggest find your local whiskey community, however strong or novice they are, and figure out the events that are in your local area. If there's a great whiskey bar near you, advocate for them to reach out to the brand and bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Learn about the brands intimately in those settings. I think you'll gain way more from a relational standpoint, an educational standpoint, an experiential standpoint than like the large format whiskey festival.
That's a
What I'm
great
not
answer.
saying-
Yeah.
That's a great point.
What I'm not saying is don't go to Whiskey Fest. What I'm saying is my preference is the former, the more intimate settings.
Yeah.
The purpose of Whiskey Fest, in my experience, is for mass exposure, not great relationships. Like you go to a big Whiskey Fest to see like what's new,
Right.
But you won't get to learn about Eugene. Like in my opinion, I don't think you're going to take away any like leverageable knowledge from a Whiskey Fest. Some people probably have a completely different approach and perspective in a Whiskey Fest, but I just don't like the speed date.
Well, I feel like the good part is because there's so many brands there. There's so much variety there. And because there are so many brands out there and they all kind of cost, they have their own little story, their own little spin, which makes it hard to kind of figure out which ones you would rather spend more intimate time to or with.
Yeah.
It's a good place to kind of, again, using your speed dating metaphor, you know what I mean? Do we have enough interest? Is your product tasty enough for me to then go, okay, all right, I see there's an event that is specific for your product, then let me dive into that. Because you could go to that more intimate event and then not really, not really vibe with them.
So, see, for me, like, and this is from a consumer standpoint, like, research is free. And I feel like, so what I'm not saying is don't go to Whiskey Fest. Like, I agree with that. Go to Whiskey Fest, get your speed data on, figure out who you want to take home, right? Like, I think
who you want to go to second date with.
Correct.
Who made an
like
impression
that.
on you? I'd like it.
I can sit on my phone and thumb through somebody's Instagram and see, like, okay, is their consumer experience actually going to be worthwhile? Like, shoot my shot at DM, whatever have you. And I think most people can. It's so funny. Mike Montgomery is texting me right now.
Oh, okay.
He knows I'm on the Zoom with you guys.
Does he?
Does he?
It's on Zoom, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah.
How does he know?
It's on my calendar. Yeah, that's my calendar. But I freaking love that guy.
Well,
He
yeah.
must have heard it. He must have felt us talking about him. Yeah, go to the speed date. But for me, like the investment to get there is pretty large. So I everybody's different, and I think to your point, I think you're spot on. If you're one of those people that have to be hands-on, tangible, and like have the time and ability to invest in going somewhere, 100% go to Whiskey Fest. At this point, like $300 ticket, flight ticket, hotel. It's a 3-day experience. I'm like, damn, that's a $1,500 ticket to go figure out if I'm going to find somebody I like. You know?
Right. But the local joint?
The local joint?
The local, I'll go spend $150 at a dinner at a restaurant that I know the food, at least the food's going to be good. I'll go spend the $150 before I spend $1,300 and walk around and like see a bunch of duds.
I know that's nothing.
And not everybody's different, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so shout out. I had you guys on my phone. I didn't want to like keep looking down, and I couldn't really see the bottles. So kudos to the Blue Run. You guys are amazing. Thank you for that. That Furthermore 18-barrel blend from Ben Holiday.
Yeah.
Golly. If you guys haven't opened that yet, like,
Yeah.
We might have sampled that tonight.
Okay.
Possibly.
That shit. So Mason came. He stayed. We went to the Master together. He stayed at my house.
Oh, nice.
That bottle is gone.
Crushed it.
We crushed that bottle.
I can understand that.
So I have I've got the poster. That's a poster from the launch
Oh,
event.
wow.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
dope.
all right.
That's
And
fire.
but we crushed that bottle. It's so funny like that. I was like, "Hey, Mason," because he like signed it. I was like, "That bottle's gone, bro."
I believe
That's
it.
what whiskey's for. Like,
Yeah, they're doing good stuff down there, man.
It was supposed to last for like a longer period of time. It was gone in all of 72 hours.
Wow.
we were pointing to people with Augusta, like, "Hey, try this. Mason made this. Like, try this." It didn't last.
It's a very unique taste.
Yeah, well, Trey, I don't know if you noticed, we got a special guest that just hopped in. We were just talking about it too.
Hold on, Mike on? Hold on, Mike here?
Putty Mike.
I love it.
Mike Montgomery, welcome to the podcast.
Applause
Again.
again.
Yes.
Applause for that man.
I've been trying to leave Mike alone for like a week and a half. It's so good to see you.
Surprise! I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss the crew plus Trey.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love it.
I'm like hugging you so hard.
Virtual.
Mike is my guy. Y'all have no idea. Mike is my guy. I love
We,
him.
he's
We
our
heard
guy
it.
too.
We heard
We
it.
love Mike. Mike's a homie.
Yeah,
What are you guys talking about?
Literally, it's so funny. Like they were asking, and I was singing your praises and great. I was just so grateful for like I was telling them the stories. Like I can come to you with some ridiculous idea, and you'll have the grace to be like, "That's a great idea. Go think about it. Like sleep on it and come back to the plan." And I'll
Not
either
yet.
talk my way into it and have like a really well developed plan, or I'll talk my way out of it because it doesn't benefit like the larger picture. But like you're the only person I've ever had the pleasure to work with that can steward me in that like creative capacity without like shooting me down.
Right.
That's a whole lot of praise, but Trey's like 99.99. He's like hand sanitizer. Like
What an analogy.
There's one other thing that's 99.99% accurate, and I'm glad he didn't say that. But hand sanitizer is great.
Oh, yeah. It's like I guess he could have went prophylactics.
I mean, these guys are phenomenal. They're very thorough, and I appreciate that. They sent me some questions, and then I had some pivots. I mean, we talked about how I got into whiskey, how I got into Blue Run.
Yeah.
We talked about, kind of what the world looks like being an NDP, and as we're growing out of that, we talked about the distillery a little bit. I mean, we've covered a lot of
Chosen 2.0. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
It's been a great period of time. I have no concept of time since we've been on.
That's a good thing.
That's our goal. That's our goal here.
Grayson came in multiple times and interrupted, so it was perfect.
It's a usual
I get
night.
that. You guys know I bribed my kid with cookies and ice cream in the same bowl before.
Wow.
Grayson.
Oh man.
It's like, here's cookies and ice cream. I just need you to relax, hang out. He's literally in the bed, tucked in pajamas, eating cookies and ice cream. Like, what else could you want?
Right.
As a kid, he needs to tap.
He
He
said-
See what daddy's doing in the other room.
Right.
You have nothing else
He
to do,
wants
right?
to know what you're doing.
Doesn't matter. All
I
that.
know that. I know when that ring light's on, daddy's doing something. I'm not saying
I'll take the ice cream and the cookies, but I'm still coming in that room though.
I'm sure it's gone, and I'm gonna have to clean up a mess. Like he's like, "Daddy, my hands are sticky," and I'm like, okay. It's like, watch him. That's not how this works.
How it is.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then we're also sipping on this trifecta blend.
Trifecta.
Shout out to Shaylin.
What do
It's
you
any trifecta.
what do you think about that trifecta?
Oh,
Excellent.
yeah, it's great.
Delicious.
That double gold winning trifecta.
Yes.
So Drew and I got to try it at the
They
gala.
go through
Yeah.
so many whiskeys. They go through so many whiskeys for us to get double gold, and still, like, I mean, that's whiskey that Shaylin took raw ingredients and blended, right? She didn't see that whiskey from inception. Like, we went out and found what we thought was really good whiskey at in the barrel, and then
Yeah.
she does what she did. What she does.
I'll tell you a little story. So, I was buying some barrels, and I found these 9-year barrels that I thought were amazing, and I said, Shaylin, let's do some 9-year single barrels. She's like, good idea, but I'm going to try to blend these things first. And I was like, maybe the 9-year single barrels is really kind of that's the idea, right? That's the idea. And then like a month, I forgot about it. Like a month later, she came back and she's like, I got it. We're doing a 6, 8, 9-year blend. Try
Wow.
it. And I got a 50 milliliter sample bottle from her that was like maybe 10 milliliters in it. And my first taste, it was like, holy smokes! There's this like like, I don't know what to call it, like a puff of smoke on the that I can't. I haven't found anywhere else, and so she pretty quickly changed my opinion on 9-year single barrels because I think it's like a stone cold killer.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It is delicious.
Yeah, the first time that I think we've had ours, or I had it, was at the Blue Run Gala. I think it was being served there, and I was just telling Trey that it was kind of hard to find, at least maybe a couple months ago, a year ago or so. But then as soon as you guys went double gold, all of a sudden it started popping up on the shelves.
Trey's ingenious plan, but I had nothing to do with that. I live in California, as you guys know, and I can't find a single bottle in the state yet.
Okay,
it's all right. We'll send you a bottle if you need.
It's not a core skew. It's not going to be forever. So like once it's gone, it's gone. I think we're like, I like to compare a lot of our releases to like we're in our infancy stages. So like you remember like the first Boss Hog from Whistle Pig, like the first,
right?
Like, why would I buy that? Same thing for like Blood Oak 1, Blood Oak 2. It's like, oh, it's cool, it's catchy, whatever have you. Now we're on Blood Oak 10 and Boss Hog 11. Like these things, people are like, I can't believe I missed out on the first 3 or 4. That's how that's how I look at like any of these, small, medium scale limited releases like Trifecta. And it's absolutely how I look at Reflection. So Reflection for us is that chapterized core skew, from the people that are in the wine. It's our vintage, right? It's Shaylin taking a section of barrels where they are current state, blending them, showing off what she's got going on. Reflection 1, Reflection 2, Reflection 3. So I think once we get to like 4 or 5, and people like realize, hey, this is here to stay. They're like, shit, I got to go find 1 and 2 and 3. And as is, they're amazing whiskeys. But I think the story they're going to tell long term is what people are going to be like. Damn, I hate that I missed out on the first 2 chapters.
It's kind of Sophie's choice right now between the 2 of them, also, right? Collection 1, I'm like, I think the statement I made is I want to fill my garage with every bottle I can get. And nothing is ever going to replace Reflection 1 for me. And then Reflection 2 came out, and I'm like, maybe half the garage?
I could split room.
Right. Yeah. So, they're both amazing. They're both so different. One's light, one's dark. One's approachable. One's like, a little bit heavyweight, boxing match sort of deal. It's kind of fun. But my daily go-to is actually high rye bourbon.
Okay.
I respect it.
And mine is Emerald. We talked about that earlier. I'm so excited for people to taste these Emerald single barrels and like batch 2 of Emeralds, which is starting to hit shelves and replace batch 1.
I was just going to ask that.
7 proof.
Okay.
Batch 2 is 109.6 if I remember correctly. So it's 109 and some change. But I tasted some people in batch 2 last week, and like I had to literally try to keep people from stealing bottles.
Wow.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I was like, guys, like there's more buy by the pour, but like please don't steal bottles from the bar that we're working at all week.
Wow.
Come back. We have a tap. But it's like that rye that Jim distilled like is easily top 5 rye. Just general non-age stated, non-heritage, legacy, crazy rye. It's one of the top 5 like current modern ryes that I currently have in my bar.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, we didn't think anything could be golden, and then that Emerald came out, and I mean, for me, it just kind of was a level up, and I said, "Oh, this is it. It's excellent."
Yeah. But don't you miss golden?
Golden is so good.
I just finished my last bottle of golden, actually.
Golden.
Yeah, we got a bottle here.
We got it up there a little bit.
We got half a bottle up there.
A little bit.
We got a little bit.
You can share that.
One of those like pour measures in it that's like a quarter ounce or something like that. Right. Milk that thing for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Well, Drew doesn't drink his bottles.
As Trey is pouring up his.
Church.
He's opening it for the first time.
Hey, look, there we go.
No. So funny. So this is actually a little bit of a Frankenstein. So what you'll know about me is that I will Frankenstein things. So this is 40% golden rye and 60% emerald.
Oh, you mixed. Okay.
What?
This is a blend. and
We
it's
wouldn't be
super-
mad if you sent us the same.
That's a home blend right there.
Is that the right
It is. So I
ratio?
put
We might
the-
have to do
I
that.
put
Yeah.
the
Right.
emerald cork in it, so I knew which one it is. You can see the golden rye would have had the green,
That's
but it's
dope.
the emerald. This is 40% golden because the bottle was almost gone, and I had like 2 of the same batches of emerald open at the same time, and I was like, let's see what happens.
Let's see what
So
happens.
this is my infinity.
You didn't test it. You didn't
Have you tried it already?
like a little sample.
No, I just no
Just one-
full send. I need space on the bar, and
Full
it works. I mean, like, well, so, generally, right? It says 1 + 1 is not always 2 in whiskey, but when you add quality products together, like, it's generally not going to get worse. And this,
Right.
So what I like about golden rye is that it shows off some of those earthier grain notes. What I like about emerald is that it shows off the floral, sweet butterscotch and some of the baking notes. And so when you put those together,
You get
it's
all
just
that.
like it's just like beautiful melody of bakery of like imagine this. I've never been to Scotland. I've never been to a bakery in Scotland, but I can imagine like a bakery in a very like quaint town where like the grain comes from a truck down the road, like a farm down the road off of a truck that the guy on the bar that owns the bakery owns. Like it's just this super great, high quality, like farm table style rye is what it tastes like. You don't get a lot of the like the the enzyme centric rye. There's a lot of enzymes in a lot of younger ryes now to get them to produce. You don't get any of that in this blend. And then you still get a lot of the terroir that I like, the earthy first floor rick house notes that you get in golden rye. You get it in this blend. So
Nice.
it was it kind of spur of the moment. I probably had drank the other 60% of that golden the night that I did this. And so put it together and it worked out.
But we don't believe you. We might need a sample just to make sure the validity of your statements.
So
shoot me the address and I got you.
Okay.
we
Be
got
the
it.
judge of that.
Out this weekend, a bunch of stuff. So send me your address and I got you.
So
Appreciate it.
Golden
that.
Emerald. When's that
Right?
dropping? Golden Emerald. I got the name
Ooh,
right there.
The Gemrold.
General.
I like it.
You got something there.
It's so tasty. It's a really cool. It's a really cool blend.
We believe you.
I also have I have a Blue Run Infinity blend. So like I think I'm
Okay.
up to like literally one. It's like 1 ounce of everything that we've ever released
Wow.
in a bottle. Ever single barrels, core SKUs.
in the world who has one of everything that we've ever released.
Everything.
That's the guy.
That's
All 3 series.
awesome,
Yeah,
right?
all 3 series of 12 days.
Backups
All-
to his back. He's got it on.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
funny
it's,
as we're talking about this. It reminds me of time when me and Tone were playing poker, having this very conversation about the different products that you guys have. We talked Reflection 1, Reflection 2 is coming out. Oh, you tried the Emerald. Oh, what about the Flight series? And there was someone there that's not a whiskey enthusiast, and they were like, "It sounds like y'all talking about sneakers. What are y'all talking about?"
The Flight series.
Yeah, look, Mike's this.
Mission accomplished, right, Mike? Mission accomplished.
I mean, there's something for
Drops.
everybody. Yeah, it's true. So many SKUs. Yeah.
it's so many
Yeah.
SKUs.
So many SKUs.
Oh,
That's
man.
awesome.
You guys are spot on, and like another change, like we kind of zeroing in, making sure that when we drop a shoe, it's a legacy, or when we start a shoe, when we drop a release, it's gonna hit. It's whether we release it now and release that same thing 10 years from now. So I'll say a beautiful thing and something that I think is going to be a consumer adopting thing is that we've kind of zeroed in, right? Like you guys haven't seen an LTO this year yet, but there's some coming. Hint, but you haven't seen one yet this year. But I'm super excited for us to get a little bit more zeroed in on like, okay, cool. Like maybe instead of every 45 days or once a quarter, but like when we drop that, it's your Concords, right? It's not going anywhere forever.
Right.
It's going to be something that is just undeniably historic every time.
We can't wait.
Right?
That's what I say about Trey.
Undeniably historic.
That's it.
Thank you for popping in. Literally,
Yes.
I didn't think
It's
my
a
Friday
pleasure
was
to
getting
see
better.
y'all.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of Trey Wade, one of the greatest human beings on the face of the planet. And
We agree.
my favorite podcast and my favorite podcasters. You know, we've shared some memories together, and hopefully we'll keep making more. But it's just a pleasure to pop on and say hi to everybody. And thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, Mike.
We
Thank
appreciate you, Mike.
Appreciate y'all.
Love you,
Cheers,
big guy.
everybody.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right, guys.
Oh my
What an
God.
awesome surprise. That was awesome.
We thought
Again,
you'd
so
like
Mike
that.
and we usually talk every like 2 or 3 days at least, but it's been, he's got a lot going on these past couple weeks. So I haven't had a chance to actually see that guy's face or talk to him in 2 weeks now.
That's awesome. Oh, we're glad we're able to make that happen. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
This was awesome.
This was a dope experience.
Mm-hmm.
This was super dope. Trey Wade, is there anything that you want to share, promote, say where people could find you?
I mean, anywhere there's a butterfly, I'm not gonna lie.
The old butterfly effect.
Yeah, precisely. Please do keep up with A Steady Pour podcast. These guys are doing phenomenal work. I'm so proud of them. If it so does please you, follow Blue Run Spirits on all the platforms, social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And then if you're curious about what I got going on in the world, just _ whiskey with an EY _, and that'll pull my Instagram up where you can see I'm either drinking or cooking or both.
Love it.
So we keep up with that. So you guys are amazing. I'm so grateful and proud of you guys, and this has been a phenomenal night.
Yes, we appreciate you,
man.
We agree.
Hang on for a few minutes, and we are out.
Peace.
Peace.
Much love to y'all.
Well, that concludes this episode of